Good morning, and welcome to the first quarter, her quarter, business quarter. I'm excited to be here with you today. I'm Coach Margie Stuppard, the Vice President of Administration for the Herpreneur Network. I'm also the CEO of Margie Stuppard Coaching, where I do grief coaching. And I'm excited to be here and share with you today. One of the things that I am extremely passionate about, and it came about because of a situation in my life. My mother has Alzheimer's. And so I've learned some things over the 12 years of my journey with my mother, who is still living, praise God, on this journey of Alzheimer's. And one of the things that I am so passionate about, so concerned about, is the caregiver. Because what happens is that while there are resources out there, and while you're learning about the disease, Alzheimer's, it's scary. It's a scary journey. They say that there are 6 million people right now in the US that have Alzheimer's. And by 2050, there will be 13 million people that have Alzheimer's. That's a scary thing. And so I just want to provide a little bit of nuggets today for the things that I have learned in my journey. For those of you that are taking care of somebody, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's they have cancer, whether it's they have something with their vascular, whatever is going on. If you are a caregiver, this topic is appropriate for you. Why? Because it's great to have knowledge to lean on and glean from somebody else's experiences. And so, to speak specifically to Alzheimer's, it's a neurodegenerative disease, which means that it progresses, it doesn't stop, it keeps moving, it gets worse over time. And there are behaviors that go with that that look like mental health. And it's not quite mental health because it is somebody's mind, but it is a disease. And that's what one of the things that I think people get confused about. So with Alzheimer's, it's absolutely a disease. It's called plaques and tangles. It's where, when you've heard somebody say, oh, her brain is fried or his brain is fried. Well, their brain is fried because the plaques and tangles really are shriveled up. Like in a normal brain, are the plaques and tangles, they connect. But in a person with Alzheimer's brain, they don't connect and they're fried. They're like wires. And so it creates some really odd experiences. One of the dementias, there are several dementias, there are about 7 or 8 of them, but the one I'm speaking about today is called Alzheimer's. And many of us know that by how we see, our folks in our family back in the day. We would say that crazy aunt, that crazy uncle, grandpa was crazy, right? Because they would be talking in a certain way. They would accuse you of something that you didn't do. They would look at you funny. That's part of the dementia, right? They're aggravated. They have aggressive behaviors. And you're like, I didn't even do anything to them. Because with Alzheimer's and with dementia, there's a target. They have a targeted person. And many times it's the person that's the caregiver, it's the loved one that's with them. And so I want to just teach you and share with you some strategies that I've learned along the way in caring for my mother, in being a caregiver. Recognize that it can be challenging, right? It's challenging. I think that's one of the things that early on we need to embrace as caregivers, as whether you're caregiving for an Alzheimer's person or somebody with another disease, that embrace whatever that is. Because when you embrace that, you're going to just realize and acknowledge that this is what it is. This is part of the life situation, right? Again, whether you're taking care of somebody who has a mental health illness like bipolar, schizophrenia, again, the same concept. Embrace that this is your new normal. Embrace the journey. And while you don't know how long the journey is going to be, you've got to get some strategies and tips along the way. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. When you see your loved one aggravated, when you see your loved one can't button up their clothes, they can't go to the bathroom on their own, what are some of the things that you do? Recognizing, again, my passion is for caregiving for the Alzheimer person with Alzheimer's, but this is in any caregiving circumstance, right? You recognize their behaviors and then you get some knowledge. Get knowledge. What does that mean? You read books, you listen to videos, you talk to other people. Having a support system, a community around you is so, so important. I can't tell you how, in the very beginning of my mother's journey, there were a community of maybe 10 to 12 people. There were a couple of couples that would take her on weekends and take her out to dinner. There were people that would pick her up daily, right? To give, I live far from my mother, but to give the person who's caring for them a break. In the beginning of my mom's journey, there wasn't a lot of care around her. There were people who would pick her up. That started the journey. As the journey progressed, I needed to move her to a nursing home. And that decision was hard, but it came from the encouragement of the people around me. My mom was a hoarder. And so I had decided, and it was because of a young woman in my life, her name was Linda, and my husband, that they really pushed me to make the decision to get my mother into a nursing home, because I had made my mom a promise. I had made her a promise that I wouldn't put her in a nursing home. I wouldn't leave her alone. We even talked about it. That was the blessing of my mom's situation, because she has seen the trajectory. And now, over the years, when we went to the doctor and we talked with the doctor, he had explained that this would happen, and we listened. And I'm telling you, right to the T, the things that he was saying truly did happen. He was like, there will be a point where your mom can no longer navigate for herself. There will be a point where she can't go to the bathroom by herself. Those are things that you have to come to grips with. And while they hurt and while they are hard, I think what's important is to reflect on the safety of that person. And so it got to a point where we were seeing all these situations happening with my mom. And I didn't want to put her in the nursing home. And it was through the encouragement of my dear sister friend, Linda, and my husband, that we needed to make the next move. And so first we made a plan, because my mom was a hoarder. We had to clean out her house. That was the first thing, move her into a new space, right? So we did that, right? But in part of doing that, that involved community. I had to get other people to help, get other people to be with her during the day. And she couldn't coordinate that on her own, even though she could be very verbal. She could still tell us how she was feeling, but I could see the progression. You have to realize that you're the key person. And when you realize that you're the key person and that you are holding everything about them in the palms of your hands, with God helping you, then you have to make some hard decisions. The decisions are going to be hard, but know one, that you're not alone. Include other people. I signed up, my aunt and I signed up to the Alzheimer's Association, and there were a group of people. They would tell their stories. Their stories encouraged me. I'm a woman of faith, and so I prayed, right? But I prayed, and I didn't just pray and leave it there. I had to do some things, right? The Bible tells us faith without works is dead. I had to include other people in to help me, because I didn't know how to navigate alone. So that meant when I went to the association meetings, that I would have other people that would be there to support me and talk to me. And they talked to me. I think you have to know that when you're a caregiver, and especially for Alzheimer's, that there are going to be challenging scenarios. You are going to be stressed out. You are going to be exhausted. You are going to have financial constraints and time constraints and challenging behaviors from your loved one. Be aware of that. When you read in advance, then you can think of, how can I shift this? How can I change this? Right? You may not be able to get money in the moment, but you're thinking about it. And there are ways to do certain things. Maybe you change the way you order food, or how much food you buy, or the items you are buying. Maybe you do things like that. You come up with strategies, and they might not always work. Give yourself a little grace to know that This didn't work out the way I thought it would, but it's something I'm considering, right? Recognize that there are going to be stressors. Recognize that there are going to be emotional pieces. For Alzheimer's, you're going to feel like you're on a roller coaster when you're with your loved one. One minute they're happy, one minute they're sad, one minute they're aggressive. And when they are in those moments, when I first experienced that, I didn't know how to react. In fact, I think in the first time my mother and I had a little spat in a disagreement, I teared up and I cried. And she was like, "What are you crying for?" And I had to hold and take a breath and walk into another room and say to her, I'm going to be okay, right? I think you have to give yourself some sayings and some things that you think about. Even if you need to go to your car and let it out and scream. There were times when I would go in my car and just cry and scream and then go back in and attempt to be normal. Why? Because I didn't want her to see me that way. I didn't want it to affect her. And I'm the one who's healthy. And so while there are challenges, just remember that there are rewards to this. And, you know, it may seem like difficult to understand that. What are the rewards? You have a sense of purpose. Man, when I realized, wow, my mom took such good care of me, my dad took such good care of me as a child, and they still in their adult years have taken care of me. But now I have a real sense of purpose to take care of her and to make sure everything's okay with her. And even when we're struggling, to figure out how I maneuver. So if I go meditate, if I go pray, if I go read a good book, if I listen to music. And as her disease progressed, um, I had to figure out, how do I do this together? Because now she was no longer talking in the same way and almost like leaning on me, wouldn't let me go and following me everywhere. I remember one point when I was working from her home a couple of days during COVID, like she wouldn't leave my side for the fear that something would happen to her, right? That's part of dementia. So understanding what dementia looks like and then responding to it. There are so many levels to it. But there, when I talk to, about the challenges, the rewards, besides the sense of purpose, listen, you strengthen your relationship with your loved one. You find out in a different way how you can love on them, how you can care for them, how you can meet their needs at a given time. Think about that when you're going through. I've heard a young lady recently, whose aunt was diagnosed with dementia like 4 weeks before she passed away. And in that short 4 weeks of time, when she came to me, we talked about her role. And the big thing I focused on, we didn't know when her aunt was going to die, but I said what she could do is find ways to build strength in your relationship with her. If that means going over and cooking with her, if that means going over and playing music, going over and cleaning her house, doing things around her, you're going to make her life better. So you want to make that person's life better. And then get community. I told her, pull your siblings in, pull her daughters and her sons in, get communities to support. If you can go to an organization, get involved. Have other people around speaking to you, because community is power. It is powerful. And what it does, it improves their life perspective. You will, as a caregiver, I believe you will develop a greater appreciation. I know sometimes I feel sad when I can't really address my mom's need. And again, over the trajectory of this last 12 years, there were times where she would be just sobbing. I remember one time I came into the unit where she lives, the place where she lives, and she was in a corner sobbing, and she had some choice words about what had happened, although she couldn't articulate it to me. And I felt her heaviness. And so I wanted to turn that around. The first thing I did was the physical touch. I touched her. I rubbed her hands and she smiled at me. And then I kissed her on the cheek and I hugged her. And I said, I understand. You don't even have to say it. Let me describe it for you. I know you feel bad. I know people are doing stuff to you, because she mumbled like they're a trip here. They got issues. You want to be able to provide comfort. You want to be able to provide dignity while you're taking care of your loved one. You're the only you they have. And so don't worry about the other people around them. You can pull other people in as community. And listen, this is growth for them, for your loved one, and it's growth for you, because you're learning different ways to navigate amongst such a challenging disease. And again, you've got to know you're not alone. When you start feeling alone, reach out to people who you know have had experience in this. Don't be afraid, because they may have been there, or they may be able to connect you with someone else that has been there and that knows it and understands it in a way that a book can't do it. A book can give you guidance, but when you talk to somebody specifically about a scenario that they've been through, they can give you the details upon details. And so in these last few moments of this talk, I want to encourage you as a caregiver to take care of yourself. Take regular breaks. Take yourself on a mini vacation. Take breaks, do a staycation in your home. And when you do that, make sure your loved one, you're going to make sure your loved one's okay, but do it for you. Do it for your mental health. If it means getting a massage, if it means taking time with your good girlfriends, if it means, I remember there was a point that I would get on Zoom with a couple of my friends, and we would have our Starbucks or our favorite drink, and we would just laugh. Right? That was encouraging to me. My friend Linda, she would talk to me. My husband talk, and you know, when you can talk to people at times where they're not expecting you to talk, then do that. Grab them if it's a one-on-one, if it's a group, and you can control what that looks like. You can set up a group Zoom, and you can say, you can bring in all your friends who you know are caregivers, or maybe not. Just maybe people that you feel will support you, but do you. Doing you means take care of you. Take rest, take breaks. And, listen, you can hire somebody. You can talk to your family members. I went through a stint of hiring CNAs to be with my mother during the day. And there were certain days of the week it wasn't, because of financial constraints, right? I still had a budget, and I still had to work with that. And so there were people that would go over and check on my mom. And then there were people that would pick my mom up and stay with her for 2 to 3 hours. So you can write out what it would look like, right? And why are you doing that? It's for the dignity of the one that you love. You're doing it because you want their life to be whole, and you know that it's you, that there's nobody else there managing them but you. And remember, there are resources out there for every kind of disease that exists. Connect, Google it. You can Google it. You can chat GPT it. Find out the information for yourself. Make sure you're doing well by yourself, because what do they say on the flight when you get on? You put the mask on first, and then you take care of the people around you. And that's what you have to do when you are a caregiver. So when I titled this talk, I called it Strong Hands, Strong Hands and Strong Hearts, right? We're steady hands and strong hearts. We're navigating the challenges. Our hands are steady. Our hearts are strong. We're with our loved ones. We pray, we fast, we include our community so that we can be in a better place. Prayer is everything. Prayer helps you to navigate. That's my final comment to you. Your navigational system, which should be through prayer and through the community that supports your loved one, so that you can have a sense of purpose, so that you can know who you are, so they can know who they are to you. as you continue to love on them, as you continue to be for them and support them. I'm Coach Margie Stuppard, the CEO of Margie Stuppard Coaching. I thank you for your time. You be blessed. In Jesus' name.